Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Slam of Wrestling. Myself, Suprit, and this is your AEW Rampage review for October 22nd, I believe, 2021. I'm joined by Abby Maniac here. What you thought about Rampage here? I thought it was good enough. They tried to build up some up and coming hot angles as as Full Gear is coming close enough. So, what you thought about it?
Yes, regarding this show, I thought that it was a pretty entertaining show. The women's match, I could say that for me, it was a little down a notch for you can say, in comparison to the other stuff which happened on this show. This was a pretty entertaining show and watchable, you know. And as you said that they are building up to Full Gear, their pay-per-view, and we also saw, the reveal of the TBS bracket, the TBS Championship bracket, and so it was a pretty entertaining night in Miami.
Yeah, and about the TBS, the lineup they announced, I thought it is pretty good. And the one thing I found creative is that you have like the whole lineup. We have total of 12 women, okay, and then in addition to that, we have 4 buys. Like they have already advanced, you could say. That's the meaning of it, right?
Yes.
So
Hmm.
these 4 buys are actually the top 5 or the top 4 ranked women's wrestlers. So that was a great touch, in my opinion.
Agreed. Agreed.
So the lineup is announced. So any favorites coming out of this?
I thought that possibly Thunder Rosa versus Jade Cargill would be the final, but it seems like it would be the semi-final, one of the semi-finals. So it could, it is pretty intriguing at this point that who would be advancing between the two, and it could be the other woman. We have seen the league picture of Tony Khan's notepad, so it is, expected. We do not know at this point that Thunder Rosa versus Jade Cargill would be happening at the Full Gear pay-per-view. So the second match would probably be it could be the tournament match as well. But if it is another match which is booked for Full Gear, that is between Thunder Rosa and Jade Cargill. So the second match, which would be happening with the tournament, with the TBS Championship at stake, the other woman would be winning. So we can see, probably Jade Cargill would be winning the first bout, and Thunder Rosa would be winning the second one. So let's see what is about to happen. So it is pretty exciting, pretty intriguing, in my opinion.
It already looks like this TBS tournament will be way better than the what do you call it? What did WWE do for that tournament?
Queen of the Crown.
Yeah, Queen's
I guess.
Crown. Queen's Crown.
Queen's
It would be
Crown.
way better than
Mhm.
Queen's Crown at this moment. So they are already beginning the tournament, starting this week's Dynamite. So we'll be covering that. And as the weeks go by, we'll get a clear idea of who's winning and who's not winning.
Yes.
But we are talking about Rampage here. We had a world title eliminator, match. We had Orange Cassidy versus Powerhouse Hobbs. We also had Anna Jay versus Dr. Britt Baker, DMD. And in the main event, we had Andrade El Idolo versus the Bastard Park. So this is their rematch and so much more. But before that, if you are new to Slam of Wrestling, then make sure to like, share, subscribe, do all that fun stuff. Check out our other content. Like we did a review for Crown Jewel, and surprisingly, this was a really good show. And I would recommend, if anyone didn't check out the show or the review, go check it out. Pretty solid show, and also a pretty exciting review. So all links provided in the description below. But before we get done with the review, I wanted to talk about Tony Khan. And at this point, he is in the news every week, right? He shows up, shows up on Busted Open, and that's major news in the community. But what's happening since last week when he went head to head with the SmackDown and Rampage head to head battle? He lost in the overall ratings, but Rampage at the end beat SmackDown in the 18-49 demo. So that's a huge thing. And leading towards this Friday Night Wars, Tony Khan was little, what do you say, little over smart in all these interviews. And one guy, and that is Easy B, Eric Bischoff, he gave his 2 cents on Tony Khan's recent behavior, you can call it. He basically said, shut up. Shut the hell up. Just go on, produce great content. And then there was another line like, I was in a real war with WWE during the Monday Night Wars. Compared to that, AEW is nothing, something like that. And we also had, continuing with this over smartness by Tony Khan in the recent days, he also said that he is way smarter than Ted Turner was back in the day, and AEW is a legit competition. Also, he said that he has more money compared to WWE. He can make a Rampage or a Dynamite commercial free. There's no big deal for that guy. Basically, what is your current thoughts on Tony Khan's recent behavior? Like, he's saying a lot of things. In my opinion, it's okay. He could talk some shit about his competition and AEW as well, gloating. But he should back everything he says at the end of the day, if I'm not wrong.
Great, agreed. If Tony Khan talks, anything, about his product and the competitor's product, you said it is making news. So making news is a great thing. You are, in a way, you are promoting your product. It is reaching the masses. And, Eric Bischoff also commented on it. Many podcasters are commenting on it. Many experts are commenting on it. They are talking about it. And talking about your competition, i.e., WWE, is also reaching the WWE fans as well. And they comment either shit or in a positive way, but it reaches them also. So it makes them being WWE fans also intrigued about the product, and they might check out your product. So in a way, it is marketing of your product. So it is great for Tony Khan to do that. He is doing marketing. Basically, he is promoting his product, and how he does it, it is his own thing. People have opinion. They can say, that you are doing wrong, don't do that. Talking shit about your competition, focus on yourself, stuff like that. And as you said, he is back. He should back it up, with his content, with his product. And if we compare a slight comparison of Eric Bischoff and versus Tony Khan. Tony Khan is a promoter, and he's the owner of his company, and his company is 2 years old. And if we compare Eric Bischoff was just an executive of WCW, and WCW had a history of many years. It was NWA, it was Jim Crockett Promotions, it had its own legacy. So they had a pretty good history back then, and they had a great head start. And AEW is fucking 2 years old, and they're knocking on the door of AEW. Yes, it is a long way to go for AEW, but they're knocking on the door of WWE. And getting deals in India, and getting close, or even beating sometimes your competition, i.e. WWE, in the key demographics in the United States. It is a pretty good deal. It is a pretty good thing, and WWE is intrigued, and they are not scared, but they are intrigued, and they know about AEW, and AEW is a it is a fucking big thing. If you deny it or not, it is a fucking big thing. And taking WWE's talents like that, and creating a huge roster, and fucking dishing out a great product which is being talked about worldwide. AW is a monster at this point. So the fact is that if TK Tony Khan is talking shit, or he's promoting his product by saying statistics which are in advantage, or which puts out the narrative that AW is better than WWE, it's good for him. If he skews the statistics in his favor and puts out statements like AW is great, they are doing great in comparison to WWE, it only markets his product. He's marketing his products to the fans, to the consumers, that I'm doing great, my company is doing great, watch our product. That he is doing just that, nothing else. It's not bad. Anyone would do that. No, and people can comment on that anyway. And the wrestling media, if they are getting a penny from Mr. Tony Khan or not, or they are thinking that their livelihood might get succumbed if they do not talk positive about Mr. Tony Khan, or his company AW, or they might not get invited to his media scrums. It is their prerogative, there being the wrestling media. But the fact is, AW is doing great for a 2-year-old company, and they are a force to be reckoned with.
There you go, man. That's our thoughts on Mr. Tony Khan. But let's quickly get into the Rampage review. They kicked off with the AEW Eliminator tournament. So this is Orange Cassidy versus Powerhouse Hobbs. So I thought it was a decent match, nothing special here. And at the end, we'll get to the result and all. But what did you think about this match?
I thought that was a very entertaining match. There was a story with regards to Orange Cassidy's character, that he was injured. He has his ribs taped, courtesy of Big Money Matt's top ladder leg drop in the Casino Battle Royal, which happened, I guess, 2 weeks ago on Dynamite. So he was selling that, and there was this thing that Cassidy scored a 12-second victory in 2020 on Powerhouse Hobbs. So Powerhouse Hobbs would be pissed, and he would be wanting to get one back on Cassidy. So there's that, and other than that, uh, you know, Powerhouse Hobbs focused his attack on the ribs, so that was pretty good with regards to you are selling the character of Orange Cassidy. He is one of the main events, or you can say mid card top level characters of your company. So you sold his character pretty well. And Big Money Matt was also in the crowd, and he was also gunning for you know uh, Hobbs to fucking kill Cassidy. So it was pretty good, and Cassidy at the last got the victory because of the can say the hot temper of Powerhouse Hobbs. That was the only thing which got him. So it is intriguing at this point that is this a story which would be going forward, that what is the deal with the hot temper of Powerhouse Hobbs, and uh, which could lead to his downfall or something like that. And with Team Taz as well, he was not you know thinking straight. Even Hook got involved at one point. He was calming him down, stuff like that. So it was many things happened. It was intriguing that what would be happening in the future, and you know, let's see what else was there. And other than that, the ending was unique. I did not expect that ending. Unique, innovative, and Powerhouse Hobbs was great with his offense, being focused on the ribs. Brilliant stuff. Unlike the Doctor DMD, it was pretty evident that Anna Jay had a bandaged, kinesio taped shoulder, and she didn't attack that. So, nonetheless,
Yeah,
this was a pretty good outing.
so let's talk about some highlights here. I really loved that they brought in some storytelling, like they had mentioned, how Cassidy beat Hobbs in record time in a AEW dark match last year. So I thought Cassidy was going for the same thing here, but Hobbs had it scouted. He hit his you can call it the finisher, the spine buster, but it did get the job. So it was mostly Hobbs in this match. He was dominating Cassidy for most parts here, targeting the injured ribs. So as we get to the final parts, so Cassidy finally, was able to build some momentum. He got in a bunch of spots. Um, so there was some situation where, like Hook had to, he kind of got involved in the match. So there was some distraction or something. So Cassidy, he got in a mousetrap pin on Hobbs, and you could call it a surprise win. And there you go. Orange Cassidy is advancing in the tournament, and nothing much. And it was a predictable thing, like I said
Yes.
last week, how they laid out this entire tournament. There are some storytelling elements in the, like, what is the backstory of so and so match. So Cassidy is advancing. So he'll be, of course, facing Moxley in his bracket. So,
Yes.
and at this point, we know who the finalist will be: Moxley and Danielson. It has to be those two guys, right?
Yes. His Tony Khan's notepad also, gave it away, and you know, except those two guys, leaving them out of the card would also be a you know, of it would be foolishness, to be very honest. And having that match is also a great thing on the pay-per-view, because it would get the pay-per-view buys and it creates intrigue, for the even the casual viewers, because both of those guys are household names. So it would get the attention of the wrestling world and beyond. So it is a pretty good match to have on the pay-per-view. And even the professional wrestling fans or the AW fans who are into the product, they are also after knowing that this match can happen on will be happening, they're also looking forward to watching this match. Even I am looking forward to watching this match.
We'll have to wait and see. But we had a interview segment with Tony Schiavone. He was in the ring. He talks about the thing that happened with FTR and Lucha Bros, winning the AAA championship and what all. So he was interviewing Penta El Zero of the Lucha Bros. So Penta and Alex Abrahantes, came out, and there was no Phoenix here. So he is quote unquote injured from what happened last week. So before he could say anything, Penta. So we see a bunch of guys, and this was supposed to be El Superranas or whatever FTR called themselves. So this caught the attention of not Phoenix, sorry, Penta and Alex. So they went after these two guys, removed the mask, and it's a bunch of fans. So this was a trap, as FTR actually came out from the back, attacked Penta and Alex. We also had Tully Blanchard, with some assist. So I think they attacked both these guys and left them out in the ring. And FTR posed with the AEW tag belts along with their newly won AAA tag belts. So they made their intention clearer that they want the AEW World Tag Team Championship as well. And at this point, it's a done deal. This match is going to happen at the Full Gear pay-per-view. Only thing is left is the official announcement, and there you go.
I thought that was a pretty, it was a great segment to, sell the match. As you just, ran down the whole, what all happened in the said segment. I was pretty surprised and also happy with how they, sold Ray Phoenix's absence. That the belt shot, was a legit thing. I guess it was a pretty old school approach to it. That it was such a big deal that they lost the match with the belt shot, and it causes an injury. When you hit someone with the belt shot. Back in the Attitude Era, when most of the times when we had seen a belt shot, we saw that someone was bleeding after the belt shot most of the times. So we had got to the I as a fan or a casual fan, we had got to the understanding that the belt shot hurts, number one, and number two, it causes bleeding and stuff like that. So this, how they sold Rey Phoenix's thing, I would say thumbs up to it. Fucking great thing.
And what are the chances we see Alex Abrahantes, involved in a wrestling match?
I don't think so that he would be. He is, I guess, with Lucha Bros as a manager, and he has also gotten the role of the commentator, the Spanish commentator. So I don't think so that he would be stepping in the ring. And other than that, them being FTR posing with the championship, both the championships, it was a great site to get into the video packages and stuff like that. So it was a overall, if you circle the whole segment, pretty good. And at the end, we also saw Pac coming to the aid of Alex, but FTR retreated to the back. So pretty good segment to sell the match.
But moving on, we had Anna Jay versus Dr. Britt Baker, DMD. And I thought this was supposed to be a championship match.
Same.
But they announced it as a normal grudge match. Title is not involved here. And about the match, Anna Jay tried to have a competitive match, but it didn't come off good, I guess, to be honest. What did you think?
I would say the same. I have similar thoughts with regards to this match. I just talked about the right shoulder, it was kinesio taped, but Britt Baker, Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, she didn't go for it. It was a little disappointing, but nonetheless. And with regards to this match, Excalibur at the top of this match, he said that it is a revenge, for Anna Jay. But there was little to no story. They're being brought about by the commentators, and even there was no video package for this match. We had talked about this on our Dynamite review, the previous Dynamite review. What there was nothing to even say that there is a grudge match. You were not selling anything. There was just that there was a backstage thing that happened. Other than that, there was fucking nothing. And with regards to Britt Baker, she was exceptional with her character work in this match. She is, you can say, a character and a storytelling driven persona she has. So she is not a flashy sports entertainer or professional wrestler, and she doesn't do this sports or technical submissions. I'm not saying she does here and there to sell her character, but not for throughout the bout, so as to make her herself. And also she doesn't need it. She was great here, but the thing that you said, Anna Jay, what I observed about her was that first of all, that you pointed out, she looked, it is a very bad term to say, but she looked basic here. She looked basic, and it was also said by the commentators, and we also are pretty known to the fact that she is only pretty a few years in the wrestling business. She will only get better. She being Anna Jay, she will only get better as the days go by. But this match, it when she was executing the moves, it was looking more like it is a dance rather than it is a fight or a wrestling match. And I'm not saying that to either offend anybody, but what I saw is what I'm saying. It was not looking good. If I am a casual fan, I'm not sold on the wrestling part. And other than that, it the commentators also did not do any good. They were marking out. They were marking out when she was dishing out offense. She being energy. They were marking out. Except Excalibur, the three other guys, they were marking out at the same time. It was looking very over the top. So that also was going in the negative of energy. That the move is basic and the three commentators are going fucking this level. So you are doing a disservice to her, and you are doing a disservice probably to the other competitors who are in the locker room. That why are you giving quote unquote preferential treatment to someone? What is happening? I don't know. And other than that, it was a pretty watchable. It was a pretty it was a good match, but more credit to the women's champion Britt Baker, and the things that she did with the camera was also pretty good. And it is a pro move. Yes, this was a taped show, but it was a pro move. Kudos to Britt Baker.
Basically, Anna Jay needs some work. She has a long way to go. Hopefully, she improves and all. But yeah, in this match, they really gave a lot to Anna Jay. Like when she went for the Queen Slayer submission for multiple times in this match, but there was some distraction with Jamie Hayter getting involved. So this led to Britt Baker getting the victory via the lockjaw, and there you go. Baker wins this match, and there was a post-match beat down as Baker went for the lockjaw again on Anna Jay, but here comes her best friend Ty Conti for the save. The heels all escape, and Ty Conti posed with the AEW Women's World Championship belt. So yeah, potential matchup here for the pay-per-view.
Yes, you also talked about this in the Dynamite review. Yes, I am pretty happy, with the opportunity given to Ty Conti, but I am still, you can say, not sold if with the story. Not sold with if they are giving to Ty Conti, the story, if they are pushing the Elite's story with the Dark Order here, I don't know, but it hasn't been talked about any time. You cannot. It has never been talked about. But if you are booking the women's championship match only based upon the two competitors, and one being ranked higher, cool. But if there is some story to it, it would also get the fans invested. But I am not seeing a story. Are you seeing something? I think yes.
In this
Yes,
Ty
please.
Conti and Britt Baker situation.
Yes.
No story, just that I think Ty Conti is ranked number 1 at this point.
But I would probably suggest that if they there is some time to the pay-per-view, so make something to get the fans invested, promos and stuff like that, whatever you can get, make this to get the fans invested, because Ty Conti posing with the title, it was just a happening on your show. It didn't get us. Did it get you to watch the
No,
match?
I would be excited for Ty Conti to get a match and potentially break out. That's it.
Hmm. Just the same thing. Get an opportunity and have a great showing. Other than that, you you are buying a pay-per-view. You have to watch a pay-per-view, so there should be something get us invested in the world women's championship match. If there isn't a story, then it just feels off. The, Britt Baker is a great character, so she can make something out of it. I hope that she does, and even Taya Conti, can play, and she is an underdog, so play something out of this. Yeah. Get some promos, backstage altercations, and get the fans invested. Because right now, not very excited. Yes, happy for Taya Conti getting the opportunity, but not very invested. And other than that, only one thing which created intrigue for me was that the last shot, the AW, I guess they didn't press upon that, but the last thing which as the camera went away was that Anna Jay was lying on the mat, but Ty Conti was posing with the title. So even that could be intriguing if Anna Jay gets in her head that why Ty Conti is posing with the championship, and there is a jealousy factor, so that could be a story for probably the near future.
Who knows, man? But about the TVS Championship, so I see the lineup here. They have Jamie Hayter versus Anna Jay,
Yes.
and another is Hikaru Shida versus Serena Deeb. So they are booked matches, and also there was also Ruby Soho versus Penelope Ford. So like we said in the beginning, the layout of this match is really brilliant.
Yes, they have something. Uh, they have planted seeds for the match. They aren't just put together just for out of the blue.
And the buys, like we have the four ranked wrestlers, top four wrestlers. It is Thunder Rosa, Jade Cargill, Nyla Rose, and Chris Statlander. So overall, I see at this moment it is Ruby Soho and Thunder Rosa fighting in the finals.
Possibly, and Thunder Rosa possibly could win. I don't think the AW faithful would be very open to if this bout happens. Would be very open to the narrative of a WWE woman winning.
Yeah, I get your point, but overall, it seems fun. This should be good.
Yes, looking forward to the matches.
But moving on, it's time for the main event. It is Andrade El Idolo versus the Bastard Pac. They did the Rampage main event bit with a a split screen interview. This time, no Mark Henry here tonight. It was Tony Schiavone doing all the ceremonies. So he was getting thoughts of both Pac and Andrade. Andrade said he wants to beat Pac yet again, something like that. Pac was intense here. He was, saying his thoughts that he will finally beat Andrade. So we quickly get into the match, and the match was really good. No story to it. They basically, these guys are just killing themselves here, and the crowd was insane throughout the match. Like, it was basically similar to their first match, and nothing much, man. Really great match. What you think about it?
Yes, I thought that it was an amazing match. Amazing match. I loved this match. Competitive, hard-hitting match, and you can say it was a pretty good showcase of athleticism, strength, and the signature spots of both the guys. Fucking amazing match. And at one point, or you could say probably throughout the match, they were targeting each other's necks with the fucking. There were many moves which got to us that they are targeting each other's necks, which many at points it looked brutal, and it took me aback, with the moves, but fucking insane. And also what happened post match was also uh, pretty. I marked out loud when the lights went out. What I was uh, I didn't expect anything to happen, and I was I was blown away with what happened, and it looks pretty, just being put together at this point. But I hope that there is some logic, or there is somewhere that this leads to what happened post match. But
We'll
this match was fucking insane.
So let's talk about some highlights here. So they started the match very hot here. Like, Park is already going for German suplexes. Then he already hits a Flosbury flop, a Tope Cornelo, whatever you want to call it. And this was the theme throughout. They were hitting big moves on each other. So there was one insane spot where I think Andrade, no, sorry, it was Park. So Andrade was beating on Park. Park was, kind of hanging outside with the ropes, and Andrade did a running drop kick, and Park went upside down. Park is a really good seller, in my honest opinion.
Agreed.
There was another crazy spot on the apron. Both men were fighting on the apron here. So actually, Andrade went for this spot earlier on, but it didn't connect or something like that. It didn't work. Park had it scouted. So he tried this second time. Like, Park was on the apron facing to the ring. Andrade did could say, a slingshot TDT on the apron. Both men felt like insane, and it was in just a crazy spot to watch. Like, Andrade sacrificed himself here. So the crowd is loving every bit of it. So there was this spot where both men were outside, referees counting here, doing the 10 counts. And this Spanish crowd is doing the counts in full Espanol here. And it was hilarious to watch. So there was another thing where Park did a big moonsault to the outside. That was really great. So as we get to the final parts, they went 100 miles per hour again. Like, they are exchanging big moves, a snap Rana. Andrade did his signature elbow thing. So Andrade was actually looking to end this match with the hammerlock flatliner, not the DDT. But Park, with a simple roll up, like, he countered the move and got a roll up pin, got the victory, and all of a sudden, the lights go out, pitch black here, and as they come back, it is Malachi Black, and he goes face to face with both Andrade and Park, and he does the black mist on Park. So it was basically a 2-on-1 beatdown on Park, and Malachi got a chair But in the entrance where we could see the enforcer Arn Anderson making his presence, and he did the clock pose on Malachi. And but hopefully nobody got injured while they were doing this. Uh, and after this, Cody Rhodes from the back came out and attacked both Andrade and Malachi. And surprisingly, crowd actually cheered for Cody Rhodes. No heavy boost here. So Cody Rhodes, was able to chase both Malachi and Andrade, and kind of basically made the save for Park, and that's how the show went off the air. So you were saying that after this angle they did, what are they potentially doing? We already have
Yes.
the third match between Malachi and Cody. So if you saw Tony Khan's, leaked card for Full Gear. So about Cody Rhodes match, he had three options. One was Malachi. That match is already happening on Dynamite. So Malachi is taken out of the equation as of now. So it leaves Miro and Andrade. Those were the other two names. So he basically went after Andrade here. So you could say they could do a Andrade Elidolo versus Cody Rhodes match for Full Gear.
Mm-hmm. All right. But okay. No, but right now, the moment just happened. I marked out, and probably many people did. But it just right now. I would expect that things get told to us. The story to get told to us as the weeks go by. Right now, it just felt like it just got thrown together because it doesn't I guess fit, or it doesn't make sense that why would character or a guy like Malachi would align himself with Andrade. But I would give the benefit of the doubt at this point to all late wrestling AEWs that they come up with the possible logical explanation to the character so as to not make it a fucking just thrown together shit. Hopefully
There is real life connection between Andrade and Malachi. I don't know if that's great to be brought out on television or not.
You can share right now, please. I
Like,
please.
yeah, like Andrade used to be managed by Zelina Vega. Zelina Vega and
Yeah,
Malachi are
yes.
like our husband and wife. So
Mm-hmm. Yes, I wouldn't think so as well. But I don't know if they just did it to yes, it was taped earlier.
yeah, but basically they set up some seeds for potential matchups. That's basically it. I don't think
Yes.
they wanted to give you a scenario that Andrade and Malachi are in a unit or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
That's basically it.
All right.
So as of now, we'll have to see what happens at the Dynamite match with Cody and Malachi, and then we'll come to a conclusion, I guess.
Yes, but there would be some reason as to why he attacked Pac. So
Malachi basically gave a warning to the entire roster, so he's coming after each and everyone now. So that doesn't need much explanation. But a match between Park and Malachi, oh, that's gonna be great.
Agreed, absolutely. Looking forward to it. whenever it happens. I guess probably the pay-per-view, if it has a place, or else we would see it on Rampage or Dynamite. Let's see.
And for some trivia here, did you know that Malachi, then Tommy End, his first, you could say, official WWE match was against Pac/Neville?
No,
And
I don't remember it.
yeah, basically no one remembers it because this was before he even became Aleister Black. He got signed and then they wanted to give him a first match. It was against Neville, and this was when they were crowning their first inaugural UK champion.
All right.
This was a random match on the card. You can say that.
All right.
So there you go, man. That's the entire situation that happened with Rampage. Turned out to be a really good, 60-minute, wrestling show. That's what Rampage should be. So this was a great effort from AEW. Hope they continue on. But yeah, man, excited for Dynamite with the tournament stuff and all. But before we leave, where can these guys find you?
Guys, you can connect with me on Instagram and Twitter at AbbeyManiac, and you can also connect with me on Facebook and LinkedIn as well.
And you can find Slam Hub Wrestling on Twitter at SlamHubW, Instagram at SlamHubWrestling. You can catch this review on Anchor and Spotify as well. This was the AEW Rampage review, and we'll see you guys next time.